Going on, y'all? Want to welcome you back to the Raw Report. And in today's episode, we go talk about broke is behavior part two, the tool that most of us are afraid of. I know last week we talked about the seed or snack framework and how every dollar that you touch is either planted or eaten. And if you ain't watched that, I need you to go back and watch that first because what I'm about to say actually builds on top of that. So basically, today I want to talk about the financial tool that most men are afraid of. And let's be honest, most of our parents told us to stay away from it. I don't even want to blame it on nobody, but it basically if you used it the wrong way, it will destroy you. But if you use it the right way, you can build something. You can scale. And what I'm really talking about is debt. And we all know what debt is. It's technically the way we was taught it's a bad thing. But I'll say that it's incomplete. Because the lie they tell is basically stay out of debt. That's basically all the advice we've gotten from our parents, our pastors, the internet. Stay out of debt. Debt is bad. Debt is a trap. Debt is slavery, which it could be. Like I said, I've been there, and it have been there. It was exactly all those things. And the thing I'm saying is, that's what we've heard our whole life. And most of us did either one or two things. We either avoided it completely and stayed small, or we ignored the advice and used the debt to buy stuff that we couldn't afford. And the latter is me. I used the debt to buy stuff that I couldn't afford. And I couldn't figure out why I was always feeling down. Like, I didn't realize it was because of that whole monthly payment after they get you to a certain amount where you got to keep making that monthly payment on stuff that you've already used that ain't around no more. And you feel broken down because you keep paying. You have to keep paying it regardless. And they basically got you down. So I was drowning in it. But I'm here to tell you today from what I've learned from it is both of those responses are wrong. Because both of them came from incomplete teaching. Nobody basically taught you that the difference between the debt that destroys you and the debt that builds you. So either you fear it or you drown in it. Either way, both go keep you broke. That's basically what I'm trying to tell you. And there's two types of broke when it comes to debt. You got the drowner. This is the person who's debt, basically, they sinking in it. Their credit cards is max. Their car note is eating half their check. Maybe they got a personal loan that they took out to cover another bill. And all they did was use debt to consume more, which I was telling y'all about the snack last week. To look good, to keep up, to survive month after month, but they can't really afford the month because they paying for last month. And now every dollar he makes goes to paying things off that basically he already used up or wore out, like I told y'all I did. And he's working today for the past instead of building his future. Is that you? I'm not here to demean or talk down to nobody. I'm just saying, is that you? Because I've been there. And the drowner didn't use a tool. He basically used the debt and it became poison. It just ruined them because it's consumer debt. Those credit cards for clothes, you finance some phones, the car notes on vehicles that lose value the second you drive off the lot. We all know that. And you're not using it as leverage. That's basically a chain with monthly payments. And in Proverbs 22:7, the borrower is slave to the lender. Is that verse about you right now? Because if you owe money on things that don't produce anything, that don't grow in value, and don't generate no income, you're basically you're a slave to somebody else's profit. That car payment, I mean, you got a BMW, whatever, but you're paying $1,200 a month. That's not flexing. It's really a leash. Because at any point you lose that job, that car gone. And every month you're making it, and you're basically working for somebody else, not for yourself. And then the other person I was talking about on the debt, you got the drowner, now you got the avoider. This the person who he heard that is bad and he took it to the extreme. So they don't touch credit. They don't get a credit card. They don't take out a loan for nothing. They basically, and they proud that they don't have no credit. Because once I got off from on the other side of drowning on the debt, and I know it sounds crazy. I'm talking about myself. I was drowning in the debt. When I actually paid it off and I was good. I thought I was straight. I ain't getting no debt. I'm good. And really, all it did was slow down my growth. Because I felt like I don't owe nobody anything. And for the longest, I thought I'm good. I don't owe nobody nothing. I'm straight. And I felt like I was being disciplined. But what nobody actually told me or even taught me was how that actually works. Because if you think about it, our own government has a $39 trillion debt. So why shouldn't you be having some debt? Because you got to pay somebody some interest? I mean, okay, you got to pay them interest, but you can use that money to build what you say you're trying to build. Because what I was doing, I was cutting myself off from every tool that was created to help me build some type of anything. And at that time, my credit score was low. I couldn't get an apartment, couldn't get a cosigner, everything. It was rough. But like I said, that's what the streets taught us. No paperwork, no, keep it. You don't need them, use your own money. That's not good advice. Not in 2026 it ain't. And beyond. So, like I said, when it came to building businesses, and I was always using my own money. I could have put that money in the bank and leveraged it. I didn't know. I just didn't know. Nobody taught me that. So I couldn't buy the property or do the things that I needed to do, because when my money started getting funny, my mood started getting funny. So I basically couldn't leverage anything. I couldn't leverage the financial system because to them, I didn't exist. Like, who are you? You ain't got no credit score. You ain't got no credit card. You ain't got nothing. So I was invisible. And even though I thought I was technically having freedom, I was basically in financial isolation because I couldn't basically scale or grow because I couldn't get access to other people's money to build what I needed to build. So what I'm basically telling y'all is, when you're not in the financial system and using it the right way, you're not off the grid, you're under it. And when you stay under the grid because you're scared of the tools that's been put here for us to build, you're building one brick at a time and it's too slow. Life is short. You don't got all day to build what you got to build. God put something on you to build, you got to build it. So, just to recap on it, the drowner uses debt to consume and it's killing him. The avoider uses debt, don't use debt, and it's limiting him. Both are broke, but just for two different reasons. And the truth about consumption debt versus strategic debt, we basically got to learn the difference. And I think this is what nobody really broke down to me. There are two completely different kinds of debt. It's like calling a kitchen knife and a sword the same thing because they sharp. They not the same thing. So Same thing with consumer debt and strategic debt. They're not the same thing. And it's basically you're either drowning in it or you're hiding in it. Because consumption debt is when you borrow money to buy things that lose value. The moment you swipe your credit card for clothes, furniture, phones, the card note, the personal loan, it's just consumption to go show off something that's not going to bring you back value. Once you spent it, it's gone. You just made somebody else rich. And it becomes a pattern because you borrow the money, you spend it on something that's worth less tomorrow than it is today, and then you pay interest on top of it. So basically, you losing twice. You paying more for something that's becoming worth less. I know y'all know that don't make no sense. That's not no tool. That's a trap at that point. And most men nowadays are basically getting caught up to their neck in it because nobody explained the difference. So hopefully after you watch this video that I'm breaking it down, that you can at least understand what I'm trying to say to y'all of what the difference is. And then you got strategic debt. This is where you build at. It's basically when you borrow the money to acquire or create something that produces more value than the actual debt that's going to cost you. So if you borrowed whatever the amount is, and you got to pay something back on it, okay, but you know that money what you finna do with that money to make more money, yeah, it's worth paying them that little interest. Basically, think about it, and it depends on what the education is, but I'll say a loan for education that's going to make you more income, that's strategic debt. A business loan to buy equipment that's going to make you more money, that's strategic debt. You can get a mortgage on a property that produces you some rental income, that's strategic debt. The pattern that basically follows that is you borrow the money to put into something that grows and produces. The seed that I always tell y'all about. The growth basically pays you back. And the debt, after you get paid back the debt, it's all profit for you. Because you didn't borrow that to consume, you borrowed it to build. And after the thing you built pays for itself, now, like I said, it's all profit. That's how you use leverage. That's how you scale a business. That's how real estate works. That's how basically somebody who starts with nothing ends up at the end of it showing up and owning all kind of stuff. Because he basically learned how to borrow the resources to build, not to flex. A lot of y'all out here flexing, I got this, I got that, but a year or two from now, all that's gonna be burned up. I'm sitting there thinking about, I don't want to say it. Well, basically my point is, I'm thinking about somebody I know that had they bought them a new, I want to say it was a BMW, was flexing, doing their thing, until that oil change came, and then I know they was calling around asking people to, can they hold something to get their oil change? Like, your car note $1,200 a month, and you need some money to get an oil change. You might want to take that car back. That's all I'm saying. So, basically what I'm saying is consumption debt makes you a slave to what you already spent. Strategic debt makes you the owner of what you're building. Same word, debt, but they're completely different outcomes. Consumption or strategic. And back to the parable of the talents that we talked about last week, and I'm going to just go explain it to you from a different angle. The master gave the three servants resources. Two of them put the resources to work and doubled them. The third buried his because he was afraid. Now, if you think about it, the master didn't ask the first two servants if they used only their own money. He didn't say, well done because they played it safe. He said, well done because they multiplied what was entrusted to them. They took someone else's resources, used them wisely, and created more than what they started with. That's the definition of leverage. And the servant who buried it, he was afraid. He said, I knew you were a hard man, so I was afraid to use the talent, so he hid it in the ground. That was basically fear keeping him stuck. So basically, he let fear drive his decision. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of y'all are fearful of that. So it's driving your decision to not get a good credit score, to not go get that loan, to not build that thing that you know you can build. And the master didn't say, okay, at least you was careful. He called them wicked and lazy. It's some risk to everything. God didn't reward the man that hid from the risk. It's risk to everything. He rewards the man that basically double what he was given. Basically, and to me it's simple. Now that I've been through it, so I'm just trying to explain it to y'all. Like I said, you might have to dive deep. You have to come to the community and dive deep with me, but it's not as hard as y'all making it out to be. And then you got the other story of Nehemiah in the Bible. He was building with borrowed authority. He didn't build a wall of Jerusalem with his own money. He went to the king, which was his employer, and asked for resources. He got some lumber, he got the letters of passage and protection, all from the king. He basically leveraged the king's authority and someone else's resources to fund God's assignment. He didn't say, I'll do it all myself. He said, this is what I need to build. And God told him to build it, so he asked for it strategically. He didn't beg. He wasn't irresponsible. That's a man who understood that the vision was bigger than his personal resources. And instead of shrinking the vision to fit his wallet, he found a resource to match his vision. Y'all got to think about that. He didn't shrink the vision to fit his wallet. He found the resources to match the assignment. Basically, that's what strategically leveraging your debt looks like. So, to make it all practical for you, I'm going to break it down where you at right now. If you 20, 17, 18, 19, 21, and basically your job is to build credit right now. You're not to use it. Get a secure credit card, put a small purchase on it, and pay it off every month. Keep doing the same thing till you build your credit up. You're not borrowing to spend. You're building a reputation with the financial system so that when you need to leverage later for whether it's that car or that gets you to work or apartment or for a business, you got some skin in the game. They already know who you are. And if you're 22, 23, 24, 25 and older, your job is to eliminate the consumption debt that you already done did and start learning strategic debt. Pay off those credit cards. I know you don't want to, but you got to if you want to basically get back to ground zero so you can start to build. Pay off those finance phones. Get the car note, basically get that under control. Because, a car note, we all gonna need a car note, but $1,200 is ridiculous. And then, you, like I said, start studying. How does a business loan work? How does real estate financing work? What does it mean to use equity? You don't have to basically do none of it yet. You just studying. You're trying to get an understanding before you actually need it while you're paying off those credit cards. And the principle is basically the same at every age. Debt for consumption is a chain. Debt for building is a bridge. Learn which one you are, basically, before you step into either one. Learn both sides. Because right now, a lot of us is basically, when we go into debt, it's for something of consumption. The snack. We got to get off those snacks. We got to start building seeds. And it's like I said, it's the truth, whether you see it like this or not. You're either afraid of debt or you're drowning in it. In both positions, they come from the same place. Nobody taught you. Nobody set you down and said, this is basically how it works. I just explained it to you, so now you know how it works. This side destroys you, this side builds you. And the line in the middle, don't cross it in either direction. If you over here building, don't go over there trying to consume. It'll be a time to consume, it's just not now. And I know for a lot of y'all, those conversations didn't happen because it's just not something we talk about. So a lot of y'all out there moving on fear and bad examples or even impulse because you just, I don't want to say, you're just making it happen. And basically all three of them is keeping you stuck. And I'm not telling you go get a loan tomorrow. That's not what I'm saying. That's not even a move at all. All I'm saying is stop being ignorant about the tool. Debt is not what they say it is. So stop being afraid of the word debt. Start understanding what it actually is, how it actually works. And start understanding why the people who build use it. Like I know a whole lot of people who actually have money and they still use debt. They call it other people's money. They'd rather use other people's money to do whatever it is they're trying to do. And because the man who keep fearing the tool, he'll never build at the scale that he need to make the money that's on his heart that he know he's supposed to be making. And the person who misuses the tool, he go keep consuming and always feel broke pretty much for the rest of his life. But then once you learn the tool, you study it, you respect it, you use it with wisdom, that's when you build something that lasts for your children, your children's children, and everything the Bible says. And that's the difference between consumption debt and strategic debt. Not being fearful, not being reckless, but it's wisdom. Because if you keep fearing debt, it's going to keep you small. And if you abuse the debt, it's going to keep you chained. But then if you use wisdom with that to build things, like I said, your grandchildren can inherit, you basically become the hero in your own story. So what I want y'all to do this week, pull out that phone, and I want you to start looking at, and I say your phone, it can be on the computer, but look at every debt you owe, every card, every loan, every payment plan, every buy now, pay later. Stop falling for that trick because they killing y'all with that. Because you get it now, get the satisfaction right now, but you end up owing, I think I seen something somewhere, somebody owed, I think they got a $1,200 loan for some buy now, pay later. And they were still paying on that thing 8 years later. That's crazy. And basically, I think they ended up paying $3,200. It cost them. They got the loan for $1,200. They paid on it for 8 years and paid basically extra $2,000. But 8 years for $1,200, that's crazy, for real crazy. And I basically, like I said, take out your phone, computer, write down all that. And I don't even know how I got sidetracked, but write down who you owe, how much you owe, where you bought it. And if it's consumption, I need you to put a C next to it. Everything that you've been consuming. And because if you bought it and it lost value, put a C next to it. If it's something that's strategic and you got you bought it with credit, put an S next to it. And basically at the end of a week, I want you to see which side is which side is winning. Are you strategic about your debt or are you consuming? Because if you're using the tools backwards, I need you to flip it around. And that's going to be the first step for you to see it clearly of what it is you need to fix about your own consuming habits. And if you don't have a list, it's basically because you've been avoiding debt entirely. And that means you ain't even trying to build nothing. You just sitting stagnant. So your challenge is different. Go research what it is to get a secure credit card. Understand how credit works. Understand why you need a good credit score. Start learning the tool from educated. From people that you like to learn from that actually got some good information. You ain't got to use it yet. You just learn it. But you need to stop being afraid of it. You can't fix what you won't face. Like I said, write down all those debts. Put that C or S next to it. That list will tell you everything you need to know about which tool you need to be using. Because debt isn't the enemy. Ignorance is. And if you keep staying ignorant, I don't know what to tell you. But learn the tool. That's basically what I'm getting at. Learn the tool so you can use it to your benefit. That's my word for y'all today. Come join the free community. Next week, we're going to do the last part of the series, Brokers of Behavior, Part 3, The Crisis That Builds You. And we're talking about why the worst thing that happened to your money might be the best thing that happened to your future. That's a little deep, but we're going to go into it. So y'all already know what I like to say. Stay real, stay raw, stay grounded in your faith, and walk boldly in your purpose. Till the next time, y'all, I'm out.